And we are live. What's good, y'all, man? It's your man DL saying, how y'all feeling? Boy, what a weekend. What a weekend. That's all I can say about that, man. What a weekend. And we're gonna see what happens as we continue. I don't man, look, I don't even know where to start. You know what I mean? As you guys know, I've been busy doing those little YouTube shorts and the DL shorts, which are way shorter than what we do here on the platform. We're either talking I really want to know or we're talking downrange. Like today, we're talking downrange podcast stuff. Um, because this is political. You know what I mean? This is 100% political what's going on here. I'm at a loss for words, y'all. I again, just as a regular dude, just a regular guy trying to figure stuff out. None of this makes sense to me. None of it. None of this makes sense to me. I yeah, that's all I got to say about that. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things, bro. You know,
Houston, we have a problem.
Houston, we have a serious problem because it's bailout after bailout after bailout. I mean, even when they have on the books that tool, they have the ultimate weapon, the bail in, which would devastate everyone. Oh man, and I'm talking about as you know, Silicon Valley Bank. Now Signature Bank has been taken over by the government. You know, there's probably more banks. You know, they're waiting to take advantage of the free money, the backstop, whatever they want to call it. It's a bailout. It's a bailout. Like we're bailing out the regional banks. Man, it's a bailout, bro. It's terrible what's going on here. I mean, man, let's. I just don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, people. This is insane. This is insane. It's like, oh well, you know, we vote this stuff in. You know, when you know we put these people in power when we vote them in and this and that. Come on, man. This is crazy. This is crazy, man. Seriously, this is insane. So, Senator Bank became the next casualty of the banking turmoil after Silicon Valley Bank, right? So, and SVB stands for Silicon Valley Bank. So, I get tied up with for whatever reason the initials come out wrong, so I just say Silicon Valley Bank. Helps me remember it. March 12th, which was yesterday, state regulators closed New York Bank Signature Bank on Sunday, the third largest failure in U.S. bank history, 2 days after authorities shuttered Silicon Valley Bank in a collapse that stranded billions in deposits. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, took control of Signature, which had 110.36 billion in assets and 88.59 billion in deposits at the end of last year, according to New York State's Department of Financial Services. All of the depositors of Signature Bank and Silicon Valley Bank will be made whole, and no losses will be borne by the taxpayer, the U.S. Treasury Department, and other bank regulators said in a joint statement. So they had a closed door meeting over the weekend, you know, and this is what they came up with. This is what they came up with. Employees appeared to gather outside the company's Manhattan headquarters for a meeting on Sunday, ordering catering from Carmine's, an Italian restaurant, and Starbucks coffee, according to the Reuters reporter on the scene. People trickled out of the building after news of the closure was announced. Y'all might want to look up Carmine's, bro. I doubt if it's just the corner deli. So they had this meeting and they had it catered by probably a really good Italian restaurant in New York. That's your bailout money and going to work for you. All right. Representatives from the lender did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Of course they didn't. They too busy counting the money. Senators' failure allowed Silicon Valley Bank Friday's shutdown. Followed Silicon Valley Bank's Friday shutdown, the second largest in U.S. history, behind Washington Mutual, which collapsed during the 2008 crisis. So Washington Mutual was the biggest collapse in history, followed by Silicon Valley Bank, and then now Signature, which is the third. Right. So we had Silvergate closed, Silicon Valley Bank closed, Signature Bank closed. All of them had ties to crypto. All of them were part of that market. All of them, we understand what was going on with that. But the last two banks closed within 72 hours, bro. Think about it. Last what? Wednesday, last Thursday, all three of these banks were open for business. Here it is Monday, and they're all gone. Kind of gone. I can't believe that. I mean, Silicon Valley Bank was the 16th largest lender in the U.S. It's one of the top banks in America. And I mean, I don't think they're gone. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. They got a bailout, and we all know, like prior to, right, leading up to the bailout, the officers, the people running the bank sold their stock and made money. I think the CEO sold over $3 million worth of stock, and then they had these huge, pretty big bonuses that they gave the day the bank was seized by the government. They gave out bonuses to, they were able to get their bonuses out to their employees and stuff like that. What are we doing, people? What are we doing? Sister Candace, I say you was good, love. Sister Candace, I was going to talk about bail-ins, but there's no need to talk about the bail-in because we're still using the bailouts. This is going to be a crazy week. What's the Fed going to do? The Fed was really clear when they wanted to raise interest rates because they wanted to tackle inflation. No more printing money. Well, we have some sort of situation, right? They're ready to give up money. And they're saying, well, it's not a bailout. It's a backstop. It's a bailout, yo. All these fees, they're talking about charging banks more to use the FDIC insurance program. They want to charge them more money because now they want to insure 100% of all the monies to go into these accounts being held by these banks. Okay, well, who do you think is going to pay for that? You think the banks are just going, Brothers, cars, what's good, fam? And it was bonus day for employees on the same day. Yeah, we just mentioned that, bro. Hey, man, it is what it is. It's when I grew up, man, we understood good and bad. We understood fairness. We understood competition. You work hard to win. People were going to cheat or whatever. All that's out the window now, yo. All that's out the window, right? It's go for what you know. The crooks run the world. This is what we're going to do. They're going to take your money to bail out people who just are bad business folks. They're just dummies. Roku were mixed up in all this, and they had a lot of money wrapped up in this. So I found a couple of videos out there we're going to watch, but it boiled down to just a bunch of bad decisions by people who were in charge. And they, I got a short out there. I talk about this, like in the back of their minds, way back there in the back of their minds, they know they're going to get bailed out. How do they know this? Because they paid the powers that be to put the rules on the books, to make the laws, so they know they can get bailed out. You gonna bail these people out? I mean, this one right here, I don't understand. Sister Candace, those fees will be passed along to the customer. Yeah. And we're not even customers anymore, really, though. You giving your money for them to gamble with. Just giving it to them. It's just, man, it's just crazy. So there's a YouTuber out there, Joe Blogs on YouTube. They have a little something here. He starts off with a quick little montage. Let's pull this up, man. I want y'all to check this out because I can't begin to understand what's going on with this, bro. I can't begin to understand it. I mean, it is what it is. It's like, hey, man, this is how people get down now, man. This is just how it works. This is how America works. Andrew Tate said it, man. It's the have yachts and the have nots, man. If you ain't got a boat, you got a problem. This is it. This is it. This is what we're doing. This is it. I'm not even sure if this can be fixed, to be honest with you. It took such a long time to get here. I don't know what it would take to actually fix this. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I'm getting a call from this one woman I met a long time ago in LA. She's older, but amazing body. She kept her body together. You can tell she's older. She's way older than me. I'm 52. She was still hanging out, getting attention from young guys. Anyway, every 6 months she calls me, accidentally calls me. Oh, I didn't realize it was you. Stop the cap. You know what I mean? I had to go ahead and put that in the young kids. I like that one. Stop the cap. Come on, lady. You know what time it is. She's in New York. Yeah, Wonderful 34 was good. Primal Studies is in the house too. Was good. No buy-in, brother. They're trying to say it's not a bailout, but it's a bailout. We know it. They're calling it a backstop. Sister Candace, hey, big head call. Yeah, that's what it is. It's I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I'm like, why am I stealing your phone? A year ago, she was doing this. Yeah, a year ago, I was like, hey, why am I was texting her? Why am I stealing your phone? Like, what's going on? Just come right out and say it. Yo, I want to come holler at you. Just say it. Shouty, quit playing. But like I said, she's way older. But her body is amazing. We're going to talk about not this particular case. I just looked over because she was calling me. Not this particular case, but I want to talk about successful women in media, successful women in general. Some things I've been noticing, especially on the media side, because you see them on television. So some stuff, I'm going to talk about that later on this week. But we're going to get through this. Let's check out this video, y'all. Yeah, this is a very good montage. Check this out. Please go over, like, and subscribe on this podcast.
After the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank on Friday, another bank just shut down. Regulators today abruptly closed Signature Bank. It has offices throughout New York and Connecticut.
Citing systemic risk, regulators shut down Signature Bank Sunday. The company told us no comment. The New York-based full-service commercial bank has 40 private client offices.
This is a byproduct of what we saw with Silicon Valley Bank. Uninsured depositors at any bank could start stampeding to their bank to take money out.
The Wall Street Journal reported that Signature was reeling from a bet on crypto banking. Earlier Sunday, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen addressed the FDIC seizing control of California-based Silicon Valley Bank on Friday. It's the second largest bank collapse in U.S. history and is already affecting tech businesses it financed, including Roblox, Etsy, and Roku. It sparked alarm about reverberations amid rising interest rates.
I've been working all weekend with our banking regulators to design appropriate policies to address this situation.
Hi, welcome back to Joe Blogs.
And this is Joe Blogs. Please go over and like and subscribe over there. I'm subscribed to him. He has some pretty good blogs. I'm not going to lie to you. He's been around for a while, has a couple 100,000 subscribers. I think the brother's on point. Yeah, Brother Prime was like, I've heard rumors circulating about politicians trying to censor Twitter and social media from speaking about bailouts. I wouldn't doubt it. It's impossible to do that. It's impossible. But I wouldn't doubt it because they know what time it is. And a lot of it too is I did a short about it. If someone were to do a deep fake right now with someone powerful, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. You would have to have someone like Warren Buffett. If someone did a deep fake with Warren Buffett saying banks aren't safe, this is all a scam, get your money out, all the banks are bad. If that came out, they'll be around the bank and it would destroy the financial system. Government doesn't have to have money to back it. Right. So we're extremely vulnerable right now. We're vulnerable because we're propping up a system that does not work. For whatever reason, our banking system doesn't work because they're all in the same game. There needs to be a part of the banking world that's for just regular folks. This $250,000 insurance is great for regular people. Most folks don't have that kind of money. There should be just places where you can go and your money is safe. But ever since they merged the mom and pop savings and loan bank with Wall Street banks, I mean, this is all they did, man. They just opened up all of Americans' hard-earned money to these idiots, these dummies, right? With degrees from Ivy League schools, these people who think they're smart. You got these folks that are in charge. Like they were talking about Roku. Roku had like $500 million in SVB. Like you have that much money in Silicon Valley Bank or any bank, almost $500 million. You're only insured up to $250,000. What are you thinking, CEO? That's dumb. The whole remember the Darwin Award things? Remember when Americans and people in general, like, well, if you stupid enough to do that, then you should be ruined. Remember those days? Gone. Nope. If you're a CEO and your company is worth enough money, or you're part of a sector that the rest of that the politicians deemed is worth saving, you can do what you want to do, man. Take that money to Vegas every weekend and gamble it away. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. Brother Jason's in the house. What's good, fam? Sister Candace, well, the Fed's chair said he was going to push until something broke. Yes. Play stupid games, get stupid prizes. Absolutely. Yep. He was going to push, and it was George Gammon that said the Fed's going to keep raising rates until something breaks. Something broke. Something broke. Now what are they going to do? They're supposed to announce the next rate hike. Are they going to say we're going to leave it the way it is? Or are they going to say they're going to lower rates? And then, like, the people who are really playing the stupid game, sis, is the American public. Because people still want to buy houses. So if the Fed say we're gonna lower rates, then how many people are gonna run out and try to lock in, or on their houses or whatever? Or people who just bought and got a higher rate gonna try to lock in at a lower rate. Here we go again. The one trick, lower rates. Man, that's crazy. For those people who are in the business, they're out there flipping or whatever. People who have money, they are killing it right now. They are killing it. We already saw that the home prices were starting to come down. That was the trick. They get the home prices to come down, they can fight inflation. We're going to continue to raise the interest rates, which is going to push the home prices down, which again, most Americans' wealth is tied to their home. Not just the home, but the equity in their home. Most Americans are broke. The overwhelming majority of Americans are broke. They can't come up with $500 to pay for unexpected expense. That's most Americans. Even the ones making six figures. They're like the Americans making six figures are living paycheck to paycheck. So where are we going with? I mean, God, dog, this is where we at, y'all. This is crazy. Brother Primal, well, they get to be stupid as long as Uncle Sam fixes it for them. Yep. And that's what's going on. Get to be stupid so long as your tax money, keep paying your taxes, because that's going to back the 1%. That's going to back all these businesses who just keep making these dumb things, these dumb plays. I can't believe that one business, just one of many businesses, but I can't believe businesses are putting all their money in one bank and it's only secured up. But I guess now it doesn't matter, because now 100% of it's secure. If you got $1 billion put in the bank, the government's going to back it. $1 billion, man. If they would have a lot more conservative approach, if Uncle Sam wasn't backing them, yeah, they would have a very conservative approach. If they knew they could actually lose the business, yeah. Like Lehman Brothers doesn't exist anymore, but will Silicon Valley Bank still be in business a year from now? How does that work? Will Signature Bank be in business, 6 months, a year from now? You know what I mean? So Lehman Brothers is gone. I guess the Silvergate Bank is gone, I guess. But these other banks get to stay. And there are more banks out there too, by the way. There's a lot of talk out there about Bank of America's, like their balance sheet ain't right. You know what I mean? But we're not hearing about that. And the Feds were so aggressive coming in here. Treasury came in here and they did this so quickly. They probably were talking to the bankers, like the big bankers, like, look, if y'all don't fix this, we're next. I bet you that's what the conversation was. We won't know this, of course, for years. Guess we got to wait for a movie before we find out exactly what happened. Oh, let's continue the video.
In today's video, I want to talk about the failure of a third bank in the USA in the space of 5 days. And you may be thinking, I've never heard of Signature Bank. Who cares? It's irrelevant. But this is actually the third largest bank failure in US history. In a recent video, I talked about
3 banks have failed. This is the third biggest bank failure. Washington Mutual, Silicon Valley, and Signature Bank. 307 billion, 209 billion, 118 billion.
Silicon Valley Bank being the second largest. We've now had the third largest in the space of 1 week. So what is going on in US banking? The failure of one bank could be put down to specific circumstances. The failure of 2 banks could be a coincidence. But the failure of 3 banks in less than 7 days tells us that there is something concerning happening in the world of finance right now. So,
and the third bank he's probably talking about Silvergate, which is the bank that started all this. Unless there's another bank out there that I'm not familiar with that just went under, but Silverbank was the first one to go. And they closed, they basically went bankrupt. Like, all right, we're just shutting ourselves down. We're just going to shut it down. And Silicon Valley was taken over by the government along with Signature.
In today's video, I'll give you more details on Signature Bank. We'll look at exactly what caused the failure. We'll talk about cryptocurrency because Signature Bank did have a relationship with crypto. However, it was relatively small in the context of the bank. We'll look at the details of the FDIC takeover and bailout that's been announced. We'll have a look at what's been happening with Signature Bank's share price and market capitalization because the company was listed on NASDAQ. We'll talk about the ongoing risk of contagion and the likelihood of more bank runs happening in the USA over the course of the next week or so. And then finally today, I'll wrap up with my summary. So what I think is likely to happen in the banking sector over the course of the next few weeks and months, and what the implications of this are for the global economy.
And this is a dude, sounds like he's from Britain. So why does the rest of the world care? Well, if America goes down, the rest of the world goes down with it. So the rest of the world is definitely going to care. This is insane. This is insane. Brother Primal, there's a New York bank that went down. In addition to Signature, there's another New York bank that went down. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. So Breaking Points was just one of my favorite shows with Crystal and Sager. I mean, they hit it in the sweet spot every single time. And I want to play a little bit of what they were talking about today as well. Like I said, I mean, politically these days it doesn't matter. I would say that Breaking Points, this show is, I guess you would consider it moderate today. I don't know anymore. Y'all, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, bro. It's you look at liberals and conservatives, it just doesn't matter, man. It truly is going down to the have and have yachts, have nots and have yachts. You know what I'm saying? It's either you with the 1% or you in the bottom 99, and it's just that big rift that's just growing. And they have the best arsenal. I'm talking about the 1%. They control the politicians. They control the banks. Even when the bank does something stupid, they won't let the bank fall. Why? Why is this, y'all? Why is this? But let's check out what Breaking Points is talking about. And again, please support them. They used to be on mainstream media. The Rising, I think, was the name of the show that they were on. They had a falling out with management and whatnot. So they ended up doing their own thing, and they're doing great. They're doing really, really well. I love watching their show. They built themselves up a nice little set. Crowdfunded for the most part. I'm sure they've gone out and secured some outside money. I'm pretty sure. But for the most part, I don't think they have any big corporations backing them. I could be wrong. I haven't looked into it. But I think what they're doing is just getting, donors, just people who rock with them to help them do what they're doing. So let's check out what they're talking about. I watched this morning. It was really good.
Totally not a bailout. Let's put this up there on the screen. I did that breaking news segment for you guys on Friday just to get everybody up to speed with the FDIC and California regulators took over Silicon Valley Bank. Lots of speculation all over the weekend. Massive calls and pressure on the financial system to pursue a bailout of depositors. And lo and behold, Sunday evening, Secretary Yellen, the chairman of the Federal Reserve and the head of the FDIC, come out with this statement. Secretary Yellen has approved actions enabling the FDIC to complete its resolution of Silicon Valley Bank, Santa Clara, California, in a manner that fully protects all depositors. Depositors will have access to all of their money starting on Monday, March 13th. No losses associated with the resolution of Silicon Valley Bank will be borne by the taxpayer. So let's take a step back and just remember. So Silicon Valley Bank goes.
That's a full bailout right there, people. They used a lot of magic words. That's a full bailout. Full bailout. That's what they came up with. We was gonna say backstop, and they use different trigger words. Backstop. You know what I mean? All right. Wonderful 34. Did you hear Biden's speech to keep the government from bailing out banks? They put into place the Dodd-Frank Act bail-in. Yeah, but they didn't use it. This is not the bail-in. They didn't use it. They did not use it, and that's the key. They did not use it. That's just talk. You know what I mean? But let's continue.
Was into federal ownership on Friday. They start to administer the bank. They begin to pursue a variety of options. One of them is a for sale, where another company is going to come in and buy Silicon Valley Bank and fulfill the depositors. Apparently, there were some indications that PNC was attempting to buy the bank, but they decided to pull out at the.
So whenever you have a big entity come in to buy a smaller entity, right? You got a big bank coming in to buy a smaller bank, and you got a bank like Silicon Valley Bank. You're looking at, you know, what they were doing, who they service. That could be a very lucrative buy for someone. So PNC came into it, and right away they're gonna look at your numbers. They're gonna open up your books. They're gonna look at your balance sheet. It didn't take PNC more than 48 hours to realize that, man, this is garbage, and they pulled out. It's not like it was a foreign bank, right? PNC Bank right here in good old USA went and looked at what's going on. They saw what we can't and probably won't be able to see until they make the movie. You know what I mean? A couple of years from now, PNC Bank went in there like, oh man, this is garbage, bro. And they pulled out. All the big people like Elon Musk, all the people like Warren Buffett, folks with money. Nah, man, we ain't messing with that. There was a bank for sale and no one wanted to buy it. There was not only a bank for sale, it was on sale. They dealt with tech startups and no one wanted to touch it. This is the kind of stuff you got to think about, man. When you put it through the think tank, man, this is what you got to be thinking. Bro, if I have a Bugatti and I'm trying to sell that Bugatti for $50,000 and no one is buying it, you probably realize that car ain't got an engine, right? So you got to put it through the old
think tank. Arch, nothing gets past the old think tank. Nothing.
Like there's something wrong with that car. That's what's going on. Silicon Valley Bank ain't some little bitty bank somewhere, bro. It's not a mom and pop. It was a huge, huge entity. Still is. And PNC was like, nah, we'll pass. No one else even looked at it, so they probably already knew. Like, nah, bro, we ain't touching this.
The last minute. So then what ends up happening is that the FDIC, despite the fact that they only insure deposits up to $250,000, invoked something called the systemic risk exception. The systemic risk
exception. And people are out here saying that there was a Trump era clause that they're using to do all this. And I think this is what they're talking about. And then people, again, you got Trump this and that. It doesn't matter. Y'all know how I feel about it. Trump might have been the president at the time in the White House who signed off on this bill when it got to his desk, but Biden would have signed off on it too. Obama would have signed off on it too. Clinton, Bush, they all would have signed off on it. Carter probably wouldn't have. Reagan probably wouldn't have. It was a different time back then. We had regulations back then. You know what I mean? Reagan probably like, this is too risky. Like, nah. Carter was like, nah, it's only going to help rich people. There were regulations back in the day that kept this sort of thing from happening. But once you remove the regulations, it's a problem. It's a problem for everybody. Right? Not everybody. It's a problem for us. It's good for the people at the top who are going to get this government bailout, man. The government just reached into your pocket and pulled out how much they need to get to this bank. Let's continue. And I just wanted to say real quick, I don't want to hear it's the Democrats or Republicans, man. Nah, bro. It doesn't matter. Or this little clause was under Trump. So what? It would have been the same thing under a Democrat. I love Barack Obama, but he would have did the same thing. He would have signed it. He would have signed it. Joe Biden would have signed it. Clinton would have signed it. It doesn't matter. Both Bushes would have signed it. H.W. Bush and W would have signed it. You know what I mean? It's not that I'm a Trump guy. I'm just saying this ain't on him.
Exception allows the FDIC to protect the deposits of all depositors, even over that of 250,000, of which some at least 90% or so of the deposits in Silicon Valley Bank were. This was the bank, as I had mentioned in that segment, that processes at least up to 50% of the bank accounts for almost all tech startups in the United States. A tremendous amount of tech wealth was concentrated. My personal favorite example is that Roku, a multi-billion-dollar.
Yeah, everybody talk about Roku and how much money they had invested there. Brother Primal, I heard the FDIC only had enough money to cover about 2% of all banks if they were to go down. Absolutely. And apparently they used about 25% of their cash bailing out these three. And I haven't found the facts yet, but I think that they touch on it here on Breaking Points. The FDIC barely had enough money to cover Silicon Valley. Just Silicon Valley. They barely had enough money to cover that. So they got these other two banks. So where's that money coming from? It's coming from us. It's coming from everybody else. I mean, it's like either you're a person out there following the rules, you out there paying your taxes, playing by the rules, or you a gangster. Either you a gangster with a suit on or a gangster with some jeans on, but you killing the game either way. These dudes, these bankers, bro, they living a good life, man. I be kicking it with them in Miami and LA and New York. They living a good life. They popping bottles, man. They ain't thinking about it. Just the same as these dudes in the street. You know what I mean? There's no difference. Everybody else's food. It's terrible. Let's continue.
Company had a single checking account with $457 million in the account.
Which, let me just say, pause on that one. That is absolutely moronic.
Oh, it's nuts.
That is, I mean, that CEO should be fired instantaneously because
she telling the truth. Crystal hit it right on the dude should be fired. His whole team should be purged. Y'all are dumb. Y'all did what? You agreed to this? You agreed to put all this money in this bank. What the hell are you thinking, bro? All of it, all that bread. That doesn't make any sense. $500 million. Well, they helped us get started. Well, this, well, that. We have to show loyalty. They ain't showing no loyalty to you. Nah, man, they should lose that money. I ain't gonna lie, man. They should. Look, and I got their product, right? I got it. That's how I use my YouTube TV. I got their product. They should go out of business, bro.
it doesn't take a financial guru to know that you are only insured up to $250,000. So they placed a $500 million bet effectively on the idea that the government would come in and bail them out, which, hey, ultimately worked out for
Well, here's what's the
And I bet you that CEO was like, nah, man, his whole team, you cannot tell me there was no one on that team that like, bro, that's a stupid idea, cuz. What do you mean we gonna put $500 million in that one bank? Nah. But then I'm pretty sure the bankers were like, well, look, you're not gonna lose that money. I mean, worst case scenario, things go bad, the government bails us out. And I'm pretty sure it took some doing to get them to convince them to, all right. They had to probably show them something. They probably walk somebody in here. This is so-and-so. They're with Treasury. You know what I mean? Probably at some party somewhere in Vegas or something like that. This is so-and-so with Treasury. Hey, I'm trying to get them to put $500 million in our bank. What happens if it goes, bad? Treasury like, we'll just come in and backstop it. We'll come in and guarantee it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay. Again, that's what's going on, man. They work hand in glove. This is crazy. They have to be working hand in glove at this point. They have to be. There's no way that the people with that kind of bread, them kind of resources are that stupid. And you just, come on now, like she said, everybody knows it's guaranteed up to $250,000. It's on the window when you walk into the bank. It's on the door. It's at the counter. If you sit down at the desk with somebody, it's right there in front of you. $250,000 is guaranteed by the federal government. The rest ain't. So there had to be something, bro. There had to be something. Let's keep watching.
the crazy part of it, which is now basically we've set a standard for, we'll also talk about the other bank that's been put into ownership of federal regulators and is going through later on. That has more to do with crypto. It's an interesting example, but the systemic risk option was invoked for that bank as well.
Is insane.
Oh, yeah, it's also crazy. And
systemic risk option. That basically means the bank is too big to fail. All the banks are too big to fail now. I should have gotten a banking, bro. God.
Look, I'm not saying I don't feel for people who have their deposits in the bank, especially if you got tech startup and you got to make payroll. And I know that it's very, very dicey and it's very stressful. So I have total sympathy with those folks. But we got to take a
Sagar's a smart guy. And I get where he's saying, like, hey, I got to do payroll. I got to put more than $250,000 and leave it in this bank. I got to trust a bank at some point, right? I get that because it'll be way too difficult, probably impossible to maneuver your payroll amongst 5 or 10 banks, depending on how big your company is. I get that. At some point, you're going to have to take a chance, bro. Are we going to take a chance on this? You know what I mean? And then maybe ask your financial folks, like, is there some insurance that we can buy that's going to cover above the 250? Is there some sort of insurance that we can buy? You know what I mean? Something like that. Right. And I don't know because I don't move in them bubbles. I've never worked at that level. You know what I mean? But that's some questions I would be asking. If I got $1 billion and you're going to tell me we're going to put it all in one bank. No, we're not, because that's only guaranteed up 250,000, bro. Now, tell me how we're going to mitigate the risks. Tell me how we're going to, okay, I'm cool with losing 10, 15%. I can eat that, but I'm not trying to lose 90%, 98% of the uninsured money. You got to tell me they're having these conversations, bro. They can't be that dense and have this kind of money. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. If there's anyone out there who's watching this, maybe watching now on Team Replay, hit me up if you know some people like, yeah, man, they just dumb as a box of rocks and they just Mr. Magoo their way into a bunch of money. Okay, then it'll make sense to me. You know what I mean? But until then,
a step above and look at the total financial system. Per David Sirota, we have $9 trillion in deposits in banks across the United States that are over the threshold, that are completely uninsured. We have now set the precedent that if a bank fails, your deposits are totally good to go. Okay, I mean, I'm kind of actually okay with that. But, and this is the big but, then the banks, though, are getting to use our money, our deposits, to take loans and to make a lot of profits. But then when they fail, the deposits are backed by the feds.
Right.
So how does that work? So you either have a private bank with the attendant risk of having a private bank, or you have a public bank. I'm not even necessarily saying I support a public bank, but maybe the option or something like that. I don't want federal control of all money. But the entire point of having a private banking system was the idea that there is some attendant risk with the FDIC that's going to insure you up to $250,000.
I mean, he's absolutely right. Y'all think about that, bro. This is a socialized banking system for the wealthy. You don't get this. You don't get it, bro. This isn't for you. You can't go in and ask the bank to, hey, I need a loan for a home. Well, show me how much you're worth. Well, I bought some crypto. And I bought this dummy coin over here. And dummy coin, I bought it at 5 cents a coin. But in 10 years, dummy coins is supposed to be worth $100,000 a coin. I got 10 coins. Therefore, I'm a millionaire. You can't do that, but banks can. That's what this bank did. They didn't put it in crypto. They put it in bonds. Well, hey, we bought these bonds. We got, X amount of billions of dollars coming back from these bonds when they mature in 10 years. So we are worth that money. And they're saying, okay, nah, bro, you worth what you worth today. Interest rates went up. Those bonds aren't worth as much, bro. That's a loss. You feel me? But then, hey, man, I guess ain't no losses no more, bro. For them, it's a loss for you. You go in there and try it. Let me know how it work out. Walk into the bank right now, man. Walk into one of the big banks, any bank, and try to get you a loan. And tell them that, yeah, you got to base my income on what I say I'm going to be worth in 10 years, not what I'm worth today. And give me the money based on that. And let me know how that works out.
$1,000. So this has really blown the cap off of the idea that this isn't a private industry.
Correct.
Really in any way. And I don't know why these people are allowed to make millions and millions of dollars if their deposits, which is the fundamental part of all of their wealth and their balance sheet, is going to be totally insured by the federal government.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's an incredibly key point. Whatever you think about this bailout, and don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking that this is not a bailout, and not just of SVB and not just of First Republic, which is the other bank that failed, but
that's the bank I couldn't find. First Republic went down too. Damn. Signature Bank, First Republic Bank, and Silicon Valley Bank all gone. That's those three that we're talking about. And again, Silvergate was the first one. So that's 4 banks, yo. That's 4 banks in like a week. And there's nothing wrong with our banking system. Man, cut it out.
Of the entire banking system. So 2 things you need to recognize. Number one, as Sagar was just laying out, this de facto indicates to every bank in the entire country that even though they've only been paying into the FDIC to insure $250,000 deposits, de facto, they actually have insurance on 100% of deposits. Now, the powers that be here, our central bankers, are saying, oh, no taxpayer dollars are on the line.
That's a lie. I pay a lot of money to insure my vehicle, right? I pay a lot of money. Here in Florida, insurance game is tricky, right? That's something y'all gonna be hearing about as we get closer to 2024. The insurance game out here in Florida is tricky. And the governor, DeSantis, he mixed up in this, right? You've heard it. Hey, listen, trust me. Y'all gonna start hearing about what's going on with the insurance, especially after the hurricane that came through. That devastated Central Florida. There's a lot of people who done lost it all on insurance. I'm surprised we're not even seeing this stuff. I guess because these other stories are out there. But trust me, y'all gonna start hearing about it, right? But I pay a lot of money in insurance. What they're paying money in insurance to insure, up to $250,000 per depositor, right? Okay, but they're getting 10 times that. Then they're not paying for it. I got to fight every day, not every day, but I got to fight a couple times a year with my insurance company just to get them to cover the stuff that I pay for. And every time I get them to cover stuff that I pay for, they want to charge me more. This bank is getting covered by insurance that they didn't even pay for. Think about that, y'all.
Okay. Maybe not technically for Silicon Valley Bank, but who do you think is backstopping that entire insurance system when the banks have not been paying in sufficient funds to actually insure the entirety of the deposits? Who do you think is on the hook for that? That's number one. Number two, in some ways, the least important thing they did was to backstop these particular deposits, because in addition to that, they also announced new lending availability for banks across the country. And not only that, but the reason that Silicon Valley Bank failed, one of the reasons.
New lending. So they're going to give all the banks more money. Not only are we going to, damn. It's just like, not only are we going to bail these dummies out over here, but we're going to get all y'all a bunch more money, including these dummies, to lend out. And they're not lending it out to us. Who they lending the money out to? Hey, y'all, we're on the wrong team. We need to get together and start us a company, man. We need a Fortune 500 company. Let's put all our money in one egg basket. One of these banks, one of these regional banks, bro. Let's get as much as we can. Everybody gets $1 million, y'all. Let's figure this out.
Reasons is because they held a lot of their assets in long-term treasury bonds. As the Fed has lifted interest rates, that has caused the value of those bonds to decline. So they were suffering losses in terms of their assets. And we're going to show you in a moment how they were sort of an outlier in terms in terms of this particular, use of their assets. And also they were consolidated in one particular industry, which also was very sensitive to Fed interest rates. That's the reason that this.
They're saying outlier, but they gambled, yo. They took a big gamble. They took a big gamble. They could have, if the interest rates didn't go up as aggressively as they did, they put a big bet out there. Right? It's like they sitting around playing blackjack. And they're kind of like card counting. They kind of looking like, well, I think it's a lot of big face cards out there. So let me go ahead and put this big bet down. That's what they're doing. Instead of having a scheme and, keeping everything right and just doing regular basic business, oh, man, I think I'm going to go ahead and put all this money down on this hand. Right? And the cards came out because they made the bet. The cards came out. and they got a 3 and a 2. They got 5, the dealer has a 10. Anybody knows about, you know, playing blackjack, you need a lot of help to make that happen. Those are not the 2 cards you want to see. A 3 and a 2, and the dealer has a 10. You got 5, and the dealer probably has 20. You don't want to see that. You need a lot of help. You got to take cards. You got to take cards. And that's all it was. They're like, we got to take a card. Boom, they get a face card. Now they got 15. They got to take another card. Boom, they get another face card. They bust. They out. All that money gone. Then they turn around to the government and say, hey, government, my bet went bad. And y'all ain't gonna let me go out of business. So, you know, let me get like 300 billion. So they can keep gambling. That's the bailout. That's how we living right now, bro. That's how we living. Sister Candace shaking my head. But they charged the little guy up to $40 in fees for insufficient funds when those people truly don't have the money. Absolute great point. Outstanding point, sis. Outstanding point. $40 yeah. And when the little guy might have the money. Well, okay, I got these checks coming in, and I know I have enough money. So when the checks come in, you know, this big one gets paid, this little one gets paid, this little one gets paid, and then we good. And if I messed up, okay, maybe I get hit with one insufficient fee. But no, what do they do? What do they do? They run it to where instead of having to pay for one bounce, they'll run it to where 2 or 3 of them bounces. You know what I mean? Like they'll run it, and then it's like, oh man, I had enough money, but I thought it was gonna come in this way and it didn't. And da. So instead of $40 in fees, you wound up paying 5 times that. Right? And those fees come out right away. So the first one hits, is not enough money there. Boom, $40 fee. You know what I mean? That happens right there. And then you get a fee on top of that because you went below the minimum or whatever. And it's a mess. So they gonna kill you on the fees, but the banks don't have any money to begin with. That is crazy. They should be getting fees. Who's charging them fees? Nobody. And they going out here making money. So they go out here and make these bets. And if the bet comes out good, if they win, they get to keep all that bread. But if the bet goes bad and they lose, you gotta back their bet for them. You don't, and it's like you ain't even getting any money from them. It's not like, okay, you a partner, you a silent partner, but you don't even get any kickback. Nothing, bro. And it's your money they using. This is terrible.
Bank ultimately collapsed. Okay. So they had to take losses on those assets. The Fed is now saying that if you hold similar assets that have declined in value, they're not going to force you to take losses. They're going to pretend that those assets are still valued at what you purchased them for.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? That's insane. So it's like saying, nah, man, I bought this crypto coin for $1, but this coin is supposed to be worth all this money down the road. And again, they're not using crypto, they're using bonds. They're like, all right, well, I got these bonds. But these bonds 10 years from now are going to be worth all this money. Well, they're not worth that money now. This is crazy.
Is effectively a gigantic giveaway, not just to SVB, but to the entire banking system. And again, the idea that, oh, this is just taxpayers have nothing to do with this, all of this is based on the fact that this is backed by the US government, which is backed by the US taxpayer. So you have 2 things that have happened here that are incredibly significant in ways that I struggle to completely wrap my head around. Number 1 is, as we said, the 100% of deposits now apparently insured by you and me and the federal government. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, this idea that these 2 banks, which just failed, are quote unquote systemically important. This is insane. It's ludicrous, especially this crypto bank that just failed. This is not a large bank.
Well, that's what really sets the precedent of any bank that fails is now bailed out.
So the precedent that is set here is every bank is too big to fail. So,
And that's where we are right now. Every bank is too big to fail. I wonder why that is. I've been thinking about that. And I think the system is so fragile right now. And all the powers to be understand this. They're like, look, man, if any of these banks go, they all go. Especially now where information is instantaneous. So if there's a run on any bank like we saw, they all go. There was a run on a small San Diego bank. Next thing you know, one of the biggest banks in the country went over, right? So we're talking about Silvergate. Silvergate went out of business. I don't even think it was a run on their bank. They kind of went out of business. Of course, there's going to be a run when people find out, all right, they're about to go out of business. Let me go try to get this money out. People talking about it online, people tweeting about it, TikToking about it, whatever. And then all of a sudden, someone says something about Silicon Valley. Ooh, wait a minute. So everybody runs over to Silicon Valley to get their money out. Bank run. And then it just daisy changed. Okay, Signature Bank, and then First Republic. And there's probably a slew of others out there as well. Remember, y'all, all this happened. I went on Thursday night talking about Silvergate and Silicon Valley. Thursday night. Friday afternoon, Silicon Valley was out of business. Look how fast this stuff is moving. We're living in an age where it's just instant. So it's kind of crazy. I dropped the link if anybody want to pop up, yo. Just, you know what I mean? You don't have the camera up on, when I bring you up to talk, but when you're in the back, if I ask to see your face, show me your face so I'll make sure, you know what I'm saying, you ain't an agent. You know what I mean? Sister Candace, what are the bailouts for those of us losing thousands of dollars in our 401ks and IRAs while simultaneously the age of retirements and SSI increases? Exactly. They don't care about that. We did it the wrong way. I'm trying to tell you, we need to come together. We need to figure it out, get some government money to start a business. I'm a minority. I'm a vet. You know what I mean? We have women in our chat. We got women in here, Sister Candace. Let's get together. Let's get some money going. Let's get ourselves into you know what I mean? Some sort of business, and let's get that business traded publicly, and let's just run it up until it bursts. But in the meantime, everybody, we just in the business of getting people money. Like, what's y'all business? We just giving money away. That's our business. We just Robin Hood in it. You know what I mean? We just y'all taking our money anyway. So might as well give it to us in big chunks. I want to ride around in a nice boat. I want a Bugatti. You know what I mean? I want to be able to fly around in a private jet. Come on now. I want to pop some bottles. Why not? Because that's what they're doing. They can't lose. But we're losing down here, man. Nah, we got to figure that out, y'all. It's time to figure it out. Let's start something. Let's start a company, man. Let's C corporate, S corporate, LLC. I don't care how we do it. But let's get that government bread.
Okay, if that's where we are, we need to have an entire rethink of our banking system, to your point, Sagar, that reflects the fact that ultimately the U.S. taxpayer is on the hook for all of these banks and for all of these deposits. And, there's a lot of talk about, okay, is it a bailout or not? And these depositors, they didn't do anything wrong. They deserve to be bailed out. Okay, that's fine. We have definitely bailed out.
They did do something wrong. They put more than $250,000 in there. Only $250,000 of your deposit is going to be protected by the federal government insurance, right? So if you put way more than that in there, you did something wrong. As a business, you did something wrong. As an individual, you did something wrong. If I have $1 million, I ain't gonna lie to you. Prior to all this, like, yo, I got $1 million. I'm gonna put this $1 million over here in this bank. I like this bank. This is my bank. We got a good relationship. I'm gonna put my $1 million in here, right? But knowing that only $250,000 of that is guaranteed, but I'm also thinking I have faith that the bank is not out here just gambling my money away on blackjack and hookers. You know what I mean? Because that's what they're doing. I don't think anyone normally, deposits $1 million into the bank thinking that they can lose $750,000 the next day. No one's really thinking that, which we should be. And it's like, oh, and here's the thing. Until we enforce that, especially now, no one's going to give it a second thought. If I won $1 billion lottery tomorrow, people will be like, man, put it in the bank. They ain't going to think none of that money's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. And they're going to give you a better rate on that money. They're going to pay you to hold on to that money. It is insane. You got to think it through. You got to get out here and figure it out, people. It's not enough to sit back and just work and plan for retirement and just live a modest life. In order to live that modest life, you're going to have to figure out a way to hustle up some bread to protect yourself so you can live that life. But if you're just out there working, it's a wrap. We're out here thinking that, oh, well, we come together and we created this society and our government is going to take care of us because we're doing it the right way. No. Look at what's going on right here. That's not the case anymore. No. We saw with the housing market, the housing crash, just giving people money that they knew couldn't afford the loans. We're seeing it now with bankers who are just dumb. Bankers are just stupid. And they're getting bailed out by the government. And then you got these CEOs who are just as dumb, putting their money in there. And they're like, well, I'm okay. Roku should have lost all that money. They put in they put in $500 million, $500,000 pretty much. They should have been guaranteed their $250,000. The rest of that money should have been like, whatever. The bank went under. We're going to have to sell off his assets. Hopefully we'll have enough to make you whole. Maybe we make you whole. Maybe we get you 45% of that money back. Maybe we get you 55% of that money back. Maybe we get you all that money back. Depends on what kind of holdings they had and what the government is willing to do. But this right here, bro, this is crazy.
The executives and shareholders of every other bank in the country, especially ones that had similar risk profiles as what this bank ultimately
So let's
did.
go even to this even deeper. Let's go put this up there on the screen. Our friend Jeff.
And they talked about how deep SVB was in this, man. They were just stupid, man. They were just dumb. But it worked out for them. Hey, good for them. It worked out. You know what I mean? It worked out for them. They didn't lose the bread. You know what I mean? And it's just insane. So we're going to go back to Joe Blogs. I want to go back to Joe Blogs to cover one little thing, and then we're going to wrap this up. This is just so fucking crazy, man. I had to drop the F-bomb. I've been trying not to use a grown-up language because YouTube don't like it, but I had to say it this time. So we're gonna let him talk about the bank run, and we're gonna,
So when you look at Signature Bank in that context, logic should tell you that actually everything's fine. This bank is well capitalized. It's actually got relatively small exposure to the crypto markets. None of that exposure is actually speculative. They're not investing in crypto. They're not betting that Bitcoin's going to go above $50,000, for example. All they're doing is providing services to some corporates that work in the crypto industry. So when you look at all of the facts, that should give everybody confidence that this bank has long-term viability. However, as you saw at the start of the video, Signature Bank has failed. It's gone. And the basic reason for that is that its customers lost faith in the institution. When a bank run starts, nobody's reading press releases, looking at capital ratios and thinking about the long-term history of the bank.
He has a great point there. Our entire system is based on faith that it works. And with all this information out here at our fingertips now, everything is right there. If people lose faith, they're going to go running trying to get their money. No bank in America has all that money in the bank. None of them do. They don't have it. It's not on hand. I remember I sold a car. It was an insurance. I wrecked a car. I got somebody wrecked me, and they totaled my car. And I was issued a check for, the loss. The check was written from Bank of America. It was a Bank of America check. It was given to me for X amount of dollars. I'm like, all right. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go cash this. So I go into Bank of America and I want to cash this. And they told me, no, we're not going to cash. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, do you have an account with us? Like, I don't have an account with us. You guys are a horrible bank. Why would I have an account here? I had an account with y'all back in 1998. Dudes were horrible. No, I don't have an account with you. Well, won't you cash it with your bank? I don't want to. Give me my money. And then they came back and they brought the managers the same thing. And I said the same thing to them. Like, no, I don't bank with y'all. You guys are a horrible institution. I'm talking loud. There's a lot of people in line, so they took me off to to the little cubicle somewhere, like in a little office. And then I got quiet. I was like, look. And they were like, well, listen, we don't have this money on hand. I'm like, well, who has it? This is Bank of America. We're in Los Angeles. You mean to tell me you ain't got this? This ain't a whole lot of money. I didn't come in here looking for $100,000. This is the check. And they're like, try this bank. Try this branch. So I drive. Took me, I don't know, 30 minutes because this is LA. It took me 30 minutes to get to that branch. I got to the next branch. They knew where I was coming too. They're like, we don't have it on hand. So they're like, go to this branch. I'm like, nah, get that branch manager on the phone and tell them what's going on. And I want to guarantee that they have that money before I drive another 25, 30 minutes to get to this branch. And then they did that. They got them on the phone. And the second manager was definitely nice. Like, you know, she understood what was going on. She was like apologizing, even though I wasn't a member of their bank. So she was like, yes, they have it. And just go over there, they'll take care of you. And I'm like, all right, thank you. I thanked her. And I went over there and I got to the third branch. This is Bank of America. Horrible bank, by the way. If you were Bank of America, man, good luck. So my problem with Bank of America, especially back then in the 90s, the late 90s, they charged you for everything. They actually charged you to go into the bank and talk to a teller. There was a fee for that back then. So I went to the final bank. I went there. They had the money ready. We did everything we had to do. I walked out with the money. So it took forever to get, we're not talking a lot of money, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like we were talking, 6, 7, 8 figures, right? So just imagine if 100 people decided that they wanted to go and do the same thing. Because Bank of America writes all kind of checks, right? All these banks write all these checks. If that were to happen today, I would do a live stream on Instagram talking about how Bank of America doesn't have any money and they're threatening me that they don't want to give me money. And that could lead to a bank run on B of A from coast to coast. Think about that. One dude that no one really knows. So they know all this about the banking system, bro. Like it's broken. It doesn't work. And instead of fixing it, they're simply going to just continue to prop it up. This is crazy.
They're thinking about is getting their money out of that bank as quickly as possible. And when you have a run, it's virtually impossible to stop it. And that's exactly what the management of Signature Bank have found. Even though they had all of these facts and figures that do make sense and logically tell you that there is no risk, nobody cared. Everybody wanted to take their money out. And because it's impossible for banks to be able to give everybody all of their cash simultaneously because they've locked up all of that cash into longer term assets like bonds and loans, which are very difficult to realize. Or if you do realize them, you actually incur a huge loss and therefore is detrimental to the business. Because of those dynamics and the fact that customers wanted to remove their cash, the bank was failing and needed to be bailed out.
And that's what happened with Signature Bank, which is crazy. And again, it can happen to any of the banks. In that story with B of A, when I finally did get my cash, they asked me if I wanted to open an account. I laughed all the way out the bank. Like, I ain't never messing with y'all. Y'all are a horrible institution. But let's continue.
On Sunday, the 12th of March, New York State Department of Financial Services issued a press release announcing that they had taken possession of Signature Bank in order to protect depositors and that the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, had been appointed as the receiver. At the same time, the US Department of Treasury announced that due to systemic risk, Signature Bank had been closed by the state and that all depositors of the institution would be made whole. They went on to say that shareholders and certain unsecured debt holders will not be protected and that the senior management of the bank had been removed. The statement says that any losses to the Deposit Insurance Fund to support unsecured depositors will be recovered by a special assessment on banks as required by law. It's subsequently been reported that the FDIC has established a bridge successor bank, so a new company, which will enable customers to access their funds from Monday the 13th of March, with all Signature Bank depositors and borrowers automatically becoming customers of the new bridge bank. Former Fifth Third Bancorp Chief Executive Greg Carmichael has been appointed as Chief Executive of the Bridge Bank. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said she hoped the US government's actions on Sunday would provide increased confidence in the stability of our banking system. And many depositors at these banks are small businesses, including those driving the innovative economy, and their success is key to New York's robust economy. Regulatory filings show that around 90% of all of the bank's deposits, so around $80 billion, are uninsured under the FDIC scheme.
So you see what the feds are trying to do. They're trying to put out these fires as soon as they pop up. Luckily, this all occurred over the weekend. Right? Banks are closed. They gave them some time to do what they got to do, figure it all out, and identify these troubled banks and get out there and get the money to them. So Silicon Valley, Signature, and it looks like First Republic banks. And it looks like that Signature is out of business. You know, according to what he just read there in those statements, it looks like they're out of business. I wonder if the same is going to be true for Silicon Valley. Remember, they couldn't find someone to take over. They didn't have that bridge bank or whatever. So Silicon Valley, we don't know what's going to happen with that. I guess we have to continue to watch.
Now, this chart shows the movement in the Signature Bank share price over the course of the last 5 years. And this shows that up until the end of 2020, the bank's share price moved around between a high point of around $150 per share and a low point of around $70. However, during the course of 2021, the bank's share price took off. And by January 2022, it was sitting at around $370, which valued the business at more than $44 billion. And the main reason for that rapid increase in the share price and the valuation of the business was because Signature Bank had developed its relationship with the cryptocurrency markets. It had launched its fast payment service, Signet. And as the cryptocurrency markets took off and everybody wanted to invest into anything crypto related, so did the share price for Signature. However,
and y'all see this chart, and you know, they tied their fortune to crypto and it looked good for a minute and then it didn't. And that's the problem. These banks are out here making bets. These banks are out here doing business. We need banks that just average everyday Americans can use and know that their money is secure and is not out here making bets and they're not tied to whatever. We need mom and pop banks. We need Main Street banks, and then we can have Wall Street banks. And it used to be that way. You had Main Street banks and you had Wall Street banks. And there was a lot of regulation in between the two. Well, that regulation has been removed. And ever since, it's been nothing but problems. And the powers that be understand this. So they're just going to continue to prop up the system, allow the 1% to wreak havoc, making these bets that they can't pay, and they keep running to the taxpayer to get them bailed out. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just I'm gonna leave it here, y'all. I'm thoroughly disgusted. I'm pretty sure y'all are too. This doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So shout out to Joe Blogs. Again, please check them out. Check him out on YouTube. Joe Blogs on YouTube. Give him a subscribe and a like. Also, shout out to Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar. Shout out to them. They do a lot of good work over there. Please go over there and support them. Give them a subscribe. They also have a Patreon. They have other ways in which you can support them. Man, all I gotta say about this is it's crazy, man. This is crazy. I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more as the week goes on, but then I'm gonna keep revisiting what's going on in the financial world, what's going on with banking and all that. Definitely gonna revisit this. I'm still gonna do the show on the bank bail-ins. They didn't do a bail-in. I think America's waiting on that. I don't think the powers that be want the average American to understand what a bail-in is, because once they do it, I think it's a wrap. I think that's like the Alamo, right? That's like the last defense. That'll be like the last thing they do before it all falls apart. Because the bail-in is just extremely gangster. Extremely gangsters. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that. And shout out to Brother Primal for bringing it to my attention. For Wonderful 34 for bringing it to my attention. We're definitely gonna look in that. But man, oh man, this is insane. This is where we are right now, y'all. This is where we are. I don't know how long this can last, but I think we can all agree that it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. You just can't keep running to the public. You just can't keep bailing out these corporations who make stupid mistakes. And there's zero accountability. Like nothing happens to them. Nothing. If Silicon Valley Bank is gone, right? The CEO who did this, the people behind this stupid, dumb mistake, they're walking away with millions. Whoever's at Signature, they're walking away with millions. We're not locking anybody up. You know what I mean? Like we're not taking any money from them. We're not penalizing them in any way, shape, or form. So why would they stop? In fact, you should triple down, quadruple down. They ain't gonna do nothing to you. What? It's like in California when they were like, hey, if you go into a store and you steal less than X amount of dollars, we're not gonna prosecute you. What? Like everybody's gonna run into the store. It's the same thing. XFO in the house, what's good, fam? Please repeat. Thank you, Uncle Saint. Hey, man, I'm just going to keep trying to do this, man. But Wonderful 34, like, it's coming. It certainly is. XFO bless me with the knowledge, fellows. Hey, man, we trying to do what we can, man. We'll pull it up, and look up, look at this stuff too, man. Look this stuff up and share what you find with us. That's the only way we're going to really figure this out, Sister Candace. We're not in bed with them, therefore we won't benefit. Well, we need to get in bed with them, sis. That's what I'm saying. We need to get in bed with them. We need to. This is the bottom line. We need to get in bed with them. We need to eat too. You know what I mean? Even back in the day when I was in the streets doing what I was doing, it was certain lines I wouldn't cross. Like, I don't want to do what they're doing. I don't want to sell that. You know what I mean? And people are like, oh, because you cared about what it was doing to the community? No. I didn't want to do the time associated with those drugs. I didn't want to do the time. If I commit that crime, I'm going to get this kind of time. I don't want to deal with that, right? Be it in the drug game or be it, you know what I mean, like running into a bank. You know what I mean? Like there are dudes out there to make a living off of robbing banks. But you got the feds on you and they don't stop. So like, nah, it's certain crimes I didn't want to do because I didn't want to deal with the consequences. But we got people right now, they don't have to deal with the consequences, so they just keep going and going and going. And that's what we need to stop. There need to be consequences. I'm not saying don't take risks. Go ahead. Go out there and take your chances. But if you fail, you should have to pay a price. They don't have to pay a price. That's the bottom line. These white collar folks, they ain't got to pay a price. They got the game rigged. They got it on lock. So they going to do what they do. They going to make this money. And if they mess it up, you got to pay for it. I got to pay for it. Be it higher interest rates, higher fees, right? Whatever the case may be, I got to pay for it. More stringent, lending requirements. In other words, they're gonna finesse the credit game. Yes, they do finesse that game too. You don't want to keep credit, like you don't want to keep balances on your credit card because the bank can lower your limit anytime they want. So you can be like, all right, I'm running, I got $100, I got $1,000 limit, and I got $500 on there. And then all of a sudden the bank decides that, you know what, you're too risky. So we're going to lower your limit to $400. Now you're $100 over your limit, which is going to hurt your credit. They do this all the time. They do it because they can. You know what I mean? So now that your credit has been hit, they can charge you a higher interest rate and charge you more fees. You see how this works. And they don't get in trouble for it, so they just going to keep doing it. And what are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're going to pay the fee. You're going to pay the fee. So I'm going to leave it right there, y'all. Oh, my goodness. This is crazy. We're going to keep rocking it out. Thanks to everybody who was here. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to keep doing the shorts. I'm going to keep doing the DL shorts. I'm going to keep doing the YouTube 1 minute short things, 1 minute or less. And we're going to keep doing these, man. I'm going to be back with I really want to know. We're going to do a show on, now let's do something about the dating world. Let's do something that we can laugh about or whatever. We're going to do something silly. You know what? Maybe I'll do a show on cartoons from the 80s or something like that, man. Let's do something light so we can forget about this nonsense for us, at least for one show, and then we'll come back to what's going on with this. Great breakdown, Brother D. Thanks, Sister Kansas. I appreciate that. Let's do it that way. Let's do something fun, and then we'll come back to the hard work. You know what I mean? We'll come back to the heavy lifting, man. But there's more to come, y'all. This is just Monday. Trust me, there's gonna be. I wonder what's gonna happen between now and Thursday. I wonder how many more banks are gonna fail. I wonder what the next thing is, because remember when the housing crisis started, it popped off, and then they said, the government said they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and it seemed like everything was over, and then it blew up again. So we're gonna have a look and see what how bad this really is. This ain't over, y'all. This ain't over. Trust me, this ain't over by a long shot. So thanks for rocking out with me. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. I'll be back tomorrow. Look out for the shorts and stuff like that, but we'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about something tomorrow, I'm sure. It's spring break. I'm out running around. My daughter's with her mom all week, so I got free time. I got a lot of stuff I got to go do. But I'm going to be here doing shows all, like maybe it'll be at 11 in the morning, maybe it'll be at 1 in the afternoon, maybe it'll be at 6, maybe it'll be 10 at night. Who knows? But I'm going to be doing stuff. I appreciate y'all for rocking out with me. Thank you so much. I'm DL Saint. This is the Downrange Podcast. Talk to y'all later. Peace.
Darn, that's the end.